Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. Today, we want to talk to Michael Konnert, the CEO of Vizsla Silver. You remember the emerging, silver producer here, silver gold producer, hopefully soon then in Mexico. And it's time for an update. Hey, good morning to Canada. How are you doing?
Hi, Jaka. I'm doing very well. It's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, great to see you again in good shape. That's always important in those shaky times. Vizsla did a lot of good things. I must say you developed the company in the last 12 to 18 months is fantastically. So time to talk about, and I think that with what we should start is that you have signed the definitive agreement with Silverstone to acquire really 100% of the whole Panuco District. So that means no more option payments. You paid now for the whole district, and please elaborate a bit on the advantages. Maybe you saved a lot of money also. If you can make this a bit more clear for our viewers, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, originally, Vizsla had an option agreement with two parties there. So this is something that's quite rare in Mexico, but we actually went down to Mexico and I spent a year basically with these two small family miner companies that own this entire district, basically in Mexico. And so we entered into option agreements. The total is about $43 million US to acquire this entire district. Now, the way that we actually accelerated these options, we did it at a slight discount to the company through issuing shares. So now we own the concessions. We own a 500 ton per day mill. All the production infrastructure is all, becoming 100% owned in the coming, the concessions are 100% owned. And then by the end of the year, the mill will be 100% owned by Vizsla. And this is a huge development for us. It allows us to basically, we don't have to abide by any timelines, by options. We don't have to spend money on option payments. All of our cash can now go into the project. And speaking of cash, we actually saved about $27 million Canadian by issuing shares, and we issued shares at almost our peak share price. So it was very good business. I'm very proud of our team that we were able to execute on this. And now, like I said, we own the district 100%. We have over $57 million Canadian in our bank account. And we're progressing this project now with incredible energy, and we're very excited about the next steps here.
Fantastic. So $57 million, I assume that would be enough for the next maybe 2 years, I could imagine, to really develop this into the path of production. As far as I know, you are doing a plus 100,000 meter drill program. By now in August, you have suspended operations due to COVID, which makes sense to bring not any people or any workers into danger. So for the rest of the year, still 35,000 meters, I think, are due to do so. So please elaborate a bit on the drilling progress then. When do you think you can really restart with that?
I suspect that we'll be restarting with drilling very soon here. So this recent wave in Mexico is worse than any that we ever kind of experienced before since we shut down originally. So it's a very, not a common situation for us to have to shut down, but we did for a few weeks here. And that time was actually used very valuably to train some of our junior geologists, and also to have our senior geologists take a step back and look at the project. I still suspect that we'll complete our drilling targets by the year end. And what's exciting is that we're resource drilling at Napoleon and Tajitos, which are the two main vein areas which extend over 2 kilometers of strike. Of vein strike, the depth is down 350 meters at the deepest area, and we're drilling very good, wide 4 meters to 3 meter wide veins there at very, very good grades, half a kilo plus. So this is the area of initial resource drilling. We expect that we'll have a resource out in the first part of next year. And as we progress, we are also exploring this district. The district is the size of the island of Manhattan. It's huge. And
it's really huge.
It's in Napoleon and Tajitos, those are just less than 5% of the total overall vein extent that we know. As a matter of fact, we actually just made a brand new discovery of a parallel vein right next to Napoleon, about 50 meters to the west of Napoleon. It's, this district, simply put, is getting bigger and bigger, and we're exploring it, we're drilling it. I believe we have the most exciting drill and exploration program in all of Mexico. And of course, now we own the project, we're fully funded, and we have the mill on the project. So it's a really exciting time to be a part of Vizsla, kind of ahead of the upcoming resource here, and then de-risking on our way to production.
Fantastic. And I'm part of that company because I'm a shareholder also, I should say, and really happy on that. And I have a very long-term view on you guys, because I could imagine that in the future you want to really establish a production 5 to 10 million ounces per year. That's my personal guess, of course, not yours. But this is something what I see definitely with your path going forward. So resource estimate, that's a maiden one, of course. What would be for you a sufficient amount to say, yes, this justifies to go in production? I don't want you to speculate on how many ounces you find or you have found already. Of course, you have an idea internally, but this is nothing to be published. It's also a forward-looking statement. But what would be for you something that you would say, hey, listen, guys, this is an amount of silver, I don't know, 50 million, 100 million ounces, whatever, to really move forward and to go really hard into production to progress this fast?
Well, I guess, the interesting way to look at that is, since we own the project and there's actually an operating and permitted mill there with production facilities, that threshold in order to decide to go to production is a lot lower than most companies. Most companies would need to see 50 million ounces or something like that, to want to go into production. That number for us, because it's already all built, is a lot lower, of course. Now for us, I suspect that the resource will be quite significant. It'll probably be in line with some of the maiden resources of other companies in our peer group. Probably a bit higher grade, I would think, but we don't know this until we publish the resource. But
absolutely,
I think what's really important as far as our resources is that the value of those silver ounces, I think, is higher than most companies, because we're so much closer to production with that mill and the production infrastructure and underground infrastructure. It's really it's an excellent feature of the company.
Absolutely. And I mean, you have really all cards on your hand, I would say, and maybe one missing for the royal flush in the poker. But let's assume the resource estimate is fine. Everything is good. Let's assume by the end, I don't know, you have written in the press release, I think by the end of Q1. Now you said in the first half, that's okay for me, absolutely, next year. But let's assume everything is going the way you wanted it. What would be immediate next steps? Do you have to go through a whole process like pre-feasibility, feasibility study, or could you say, hey, you know what, we know this project so well, and as you said, we have already an operable mill there, that you can shorten some things, that you can say, hey, you know what, maybe we save some 6 to 12 months here on the timeline? Well,
I think if you look at us versus a company that's made a discovery somewhere in the middle of, let's say the middle of nowhere, and they have to actually build the infrastructure, build roads, and go through permitting and build power lines and things like that. There's a pretty big difference. So where the time savings comes is because of that infrastructure that already exists there. But I want to be clear that we're not going to skip any steps with regards to studies. We're going to do the right things and build mine plans and feasibility studies and everything that's necessary for us to move into production. But I do think that we have an advantage because we can actually start a lot of those things earlier, and so we're moving towards production a lot faster than most companies. But we're not going to rush into production at the risk of
missing
intelligent mine planning and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Super. So no lack in the quality, of course, but due to the setup the company has, you can speed things up.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, super. Now we spoke about resource drilling, and I understand Napoleon and Tajitos is the place to be to start mining in the future, hopefully with good results, as you said, with a good resource estimate. If we move to the exploration drilling, because that would be like, let's say, the future of the future, right? The longer term stuff, you have the Napoleon corridor, yeah, with Cinco Señores, Cordon de Oro, Animas corridor, yeah, all those kind of things. How would you put that a little bit into a context for the future of the company? Would that mean that you say, okay, we go into production, you are in production, and then you would do the same things then within the corridor? Because it looks to me like a bit that you have Napoleon Tajitos and you have parallel corridors, which would be fantastic to mine in a longer term future, right?
Well, exactly. I think, the idea between Napoleon and Tajitos is that we want to have our initial areas of resource, which will then likely become an area of initial production. But the goal of Vizsla and our work here is to show across the district that there are a number of major structures, mineralized structures, or ore shoots along major structures that will provide, many years of production here in the district. So it's there's a couple things to point out. One is that this is a district that's been in production for 400 plus years. It's one of the old mining districts in Mexico. It's one vein in particular has been very significantly mined, and that represents maybe 5% of the overall district. The vast majority of the district's never been explored. Many of these vein structures have never been mined within the last 200 years. So there's surface scrapings, those type of things. I truly expect that this district will be one of the very long-lived major districts in Mexico. And I think, Napoleon and Tajitos are going to be huge, but they're just the very beginning of what the potential of the district is there.
So long-term production might be possible, hopefully. That's good. I said that, not you. Okay, so things are looking good. I expect then a lot of news flow by the end of the year. That's also fine, especially when you can restart the drilling, maybe beginning of September. Let's talk also about your spin-out you are planning to, because I read in your news that you have a spinco about copper in British Columbia, and we had several shareholders asking us about what's the status there, what's going on, when will it be separately listed, how does the transaction work?
Yeah, so that one is originally we started a company. It was called Vizsla Resources, and it had copper property called the Blueberry property in BC, and as we progressed and entered into the agreement with Vizsla Silver and started building this project up here in Mexico, we wanted to demonstrate that we were entirely focused on the Panuco District in Mexico. So we changed our name to Vizsla Silver, and we're spinning out Vizsla Copper, which has the BC copper assets to our shareholders, basically. So the idea was that that'll be a standalone company. It'll be on its own, independent management, but shareholders will receive value in the sense that they'll receive a dividended share, 1 to 3 basically. So it's just further upside for our shareholders.
Fantastic. Any timelines already when this will, by the end of the year, it will be done, or
certainly
how the
by the end of the
going?
year? Yeah, I suspect that it could be done relatively soon here. Yeah.
And with the separate listing with the TSX,
that's right. It'll be on
ideas?
The TSX-V. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So also by the end of the year, you expect a separate listing.
Yes. Yeah. I expect that should happen relatively soon.
Fantastic. Super. Hey, all in all, I would say it looks fantastic with Vizsla.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Another thing to point out is that we've had over the last 6 months, or at least over the last year, I believe it's been about $7 million of insider buying. For Vizsla. So
interesting.
That should tell, I think, what how confident we are in the project and what we see here as the potential for the next steps here. I think that this will be one of the major silver districts in Mexico.
Fantastic. Last question. Who are by today the major shareholders? Because with $7 million of insider buying, I could imagine management has now a substantial portion. And who else is, let's say, big in the money here?
Yeah, so myself, Craig Perry, our chairman, Franklin Templeton is a major shareholder, Eric Sprott, for sale. So we have some excellent shareholders and some great supporters from mining focused investors in Canada and the US, as well as
If you would put percentage-wise this together, let's say the major shareholders, how many percent roughly? I know we cannot say it on the exact number, but roughly, do we talk about like 40-50% is in strong hands?
I would say that, yeah.
So nobody can grab you for cheap.
Pardon me? Nobody
can grab you for cheap.
It would be difficult. That's right.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to hear. Because, I'm a super silver bull and I see silver immediately moving to $41. It could happen this year already. Yeah. And that's why I was a little bit in fear that somebody might think, oh, great company, maybe we should grab it.
No, we've got a lot of work to do.
Super. Perfect. All right. Hey, Michael, thank you very much. That was a great update. And I would say things are looking really good and you have the money to do so. That's important in these times. And we look forward to your resource estimate because I think this is the trigger point on a fast way to production.
That's absolutely right. Thank you, Jochen.
Super. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Michael Konnert, the CEO of Vizsla Silver. And you heard it. The company is fully on track despite drilling is really suspended in August due to COVID-19 in Mexico, but this is fully understandable. But I think the company has done a tremendous development in the last 18 months here, and I think the company is really doing great. Still $57 million in the bank and saved $20 million by exercising the option agreement earlier, paying most of it with shares. I think this is a fantastic move. I call this positive dilution because it really makes sense now to have the hand on 100% of the Panuco District. And we look forward to the resource estimate as this is the key trigger point here for the near-term future within the next, hopefully 6 to 9 months. And we keep you posted. Check out this fantastic company. Thanks for watching us and bye-bye from Switzerland.